Misfits, welcome to the Misfit Heroes podcast. My name is Chris, and together we are going on a journey. Misfits, the other night I was watching Netflix and a new show popped up called Love on the Spectrum. Now, if you're not familiar, it's a reality show that focuses on people with autism going on dates and finding love amidst common social dilemmas that arise among people with high-functioning autism. In the interest of being fully transparent, I'll be flat out honest. I did not know or understand much about the autism spectrum and the behaviors that align with autism spectrum disorder. Particularly that, according to autismspeaks.org, 1% of the world's population are on the spectrum, and that 1 in 44 kids in America are diagnosed with ASD. Now, in the past, films like Rain Man and Mercury Rising portrayed characters with autism as a burden, often displaying autistic characters as weak and helpless, and many times being bullied and treated inhumanely. If you follow me on social media, I recently did a giveaway for a free trip to PodFest, a large podcasting convention in Orlando, Florida. The trip was a blast, and at the event, I got to sit down with Sam from the Autism Rocks and Rolls podcast. If you've never listened to his show, Sam is quite the character. He provides an open, honest, and witty look into the life of someone dealing with high-functioning autism, and we had a great time discussing the treatment and portrayal of people with autism in media, his new nonprofit that was created because of his podcast to raise awareness and teach others on the spectrum how to be successful in a world that feels different, and the surprising effect that podcasting has had on his social life. He also explains his fixations like professional wrestling, and he provides some insight into parenting and care for families of children with autism. Misfits, I learned a lot on this episode, and I'm so glad I got to sit down with Sam in person. Give this episode a listen, and then go check out his show, Autism Rocks and Rolls, on any of the podcasting platforms. I was pleasantly surprised. Misfits, let's put this puzzle together. Please welcome Sam Mitchell.
Playing the Misfit Heroes podcast.
Well, Sam, welcome to the Misfit Heroes podcast. I've been really excited to talk to you before we even came down here. First off, we're doing this live from PodFest. I am super excited to talk to you, man. How's your day been going so far?
Well, it's been going good. I've got several cards and several connections, and I'm glad to be at PodFest myself. I didn't expect this big of a people. I mean, I've heard it was pretty big, but I was like, whoa, Nelly.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes those on the spectrum can get a little overwhelming, but it's enough for me to handle. Yeah, well, I love your show. You know, I listened to a whole bunch of episodes on the way down here, and I really got to say, you know, right from the start that as someone who is not very familiar with the autism spectrum, what you're doing and the way that you speak and the way that you present yourself is so eye-opening and just such a great representation of the autism community. I mean, I think it's very interesting to hear your perspective on things. I mean, it's really a great podcast, Autism Rocks and Rolls. I love what you're doing. Well, first of all, thank you. And it's because it's true in my eyes. Autism does indeed rock and roll. I mean, and part of it's because of the love of rock music, like the Nirvana smell like, I'm about to smell like kid pressure. Now that it smell like teen pressure. Nope, smell, what pressure is it? Air pressure. No, wait a minute. Now I can remember that. Smells like Teen Spirit. Gee,
there you go.
Teen Pressure apparently is the new title of it. Anyway, smells like Teen Spirit. And Thunderstruck. So that's where it kind of came from. So the rock smells came from that hobby, but with this mission, I just think it's true.
Yeah, I mean, your perspective is just, it's direct, it's to the point, and it's not like I don't know, it's not like forgiving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just you. I'm very impressed with how intimately you are yourself. You know?
Right. And the reason being is I'm an honest man. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say, well, autism is this. I don't sugarcoat things. I mean, there's a quote I said on my podcast. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was this. I said, I don't put the sugar on the cookies. I said I put the spiciness on the wings. So it came from my love of buffalo wings. I'm a big chicken wing eater. So that's my favorite food. But I kind of took that into like a little bit of an analogy there because I'm going to say the positive autism there is, and there's some negatives, but I do my best to focus on the positives. But in my eyes, the negatives do need to be heard. Yeah,
for sure. Well, I mean, I think it's that honesty is really so key to your podcast. I think if it wasn't like that, I don't think it would be nearly as impressive.
Right. And I agree with you. I mean, I've seen some podcasts that are just like, and then they're just trying to like hide the facts. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Because you need to say it. I mean, as hard as it sometimes says, the truth needs to be heard, whether you like it or not.
Well, let's talk about it a little bit. I mean, so before we get into your podcast and everything like that, can we talk a little bit about the spectrum? I mean, it's a wide topic. It's a very diverse topic. So can you explain your experiences with autism? I mean, how exactly has it affected you growing up, and how's it affected you? Give us a little backstory for you.
Okay, we can give it a shot. Well, through my life, I was very excluded and stereotyped, and through that, I think in my life, as I may have not mentioned to you, I hit rock bottom, and it just came to a point where I wouldn't say I was depressed. I just wasn't looking forward to today. It oddly never got to the point where I wanted to commit suicide. Never has, but it just got to the point where I was depressed each day, and it just hit me really hard to the key because I'm getting excluded, and no one's giving me the chance. You know, I understand if I got excluded because they're giving me the chance. Yeah. But to do it because I'm not given the chance, really? Yeah. That's just selfish and rude.
Yeah. So when were you diagnosed with autism?
I was diagnosed at 4. The reason why I was told is I had to go through a bunch of tests that I cannot remember. If I did, I'd tell you what they were. And I didn't like fireworks. I mean, I love loud noises now. I think rock and roll kind of cured that. I don't want to say cured it, but helped it a little bit. But back then it was fireworks going on, Sam's running down in the basement hiding.
Yeah. So a lot of it has to do with sensory issues and things like that. Can you explain some of those a little bit? I mean, I know you said the fireworks is an issue for you, but I mean, are there other things that affect you?
Well, now fireworks doesn't. I love the explosiveness now.
You've grown up a little bit, right?
Oh, big time on that one, buddy. But yeah, I would say so. So, for example, there's one I do not like to this day. It's my wet t-shirt. It's a wet t-shirt. Okay. Now, you've probably been in the rain before, and it's raining, darn it, and you can tolerate the wet t-shirt.
Right.
No, not me. I mean, I got to the point where I can tolerate it, but as soon as I get home, this shirt's coming off because I'm not wearing that shirt that's soaking wet, and it's intolerable because it's an uncomfortable feeling for you and tolerable, but for me, when that t-shirt gets wet, it's just too pinchy.
Yeah.
Just like, nyeh, 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 nyeh.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of what I have heard from your show deals a lot with like fixations and things like that. And you know, can you sort of explain it a little bit deeper? I know you said that you just sort of you can't handle it. I mean, what is the nature of it? Is I mean, and this is coming from completely
you don't know, but
place.
I gotta ask you, what do you mean by nature of it?
Well, I mean, is it the feeling of it? Is it the feeling of the wet t-shirt? Is it the look of the wet t-shirt? The visual of the wet t-shirt? The feeling.
It's so pinchy, and the feeling that it just feels like you're getting pinched by 1,000 needles.
Yeah.
For me, it's just like, it's not tolerable. I mean,
so it's like physical.
It's like physical. It's like, no, it's not happening.
I mean, that's got to be difficult, man. I mean, obviously, but
at times it can be, but I mean, there's solutions for it. There's stuff we can do now these days. I mean, as a grown adult, I know I can't go like take it off right off the hands, but when I get home, I know like, okay,
sure,
it can come off. I can take another shirt. At the end result, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could have learned that when I was 8. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So did you ever run into any situations with anything like that, with the fireworks or with the, with a wet shirt or anything like that? Did you ever run into situations where, obviously, I mean, that's got to be awkward around people that don't understand?
Yeah, but I mean, at 8, I still couldn't take off the shirt. So what I do, and I look like ridiculous. It's kind of funny almost, but it's really the ends of the shirt. But what I do is basically I would get my pants and I literally tuck the shirt in as far as the shirt went up. So if my shirt is up to the stomach level, I would tuck my shirt all the way into the stomach level.
Yeah.
And that way it would mask me. Or if it was all the way higher, I pull the pants higher. It got to the point where I almost looked like Steve Urkel.
Did you ever get any pictures?
No, I didn't. That's a good thing I did. I think I'd be like, really, at that point.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I think that, the way that you speak about the entire concept of autism is very it's very personal. And I think that's probably my favorite part of your podcast. It's just very it's very intimate and authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I appreciate that, because what I didn't realize through this podcast until the podcast was, I guess I am very relatable. I kind of knew that, but I didn't realize how my voice was relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew I was relatable and I could be like every other average guy Joe, but I didn't know how my voice could be relatable, how it just sounds just so relatable and just like the next door neighbor, almost just stating the facts almost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's you, I guess that's the point that I'm getting at, is that it's you bring like a light to your show. I think oftentimes when you hear about the subject matter of autism or the autism spectrum, there's not always a positive connotation to it, and you bring that positive light to it, but you also keep it real and talk about the struggles that you face and things like that. I mean, let's talk about your podcast a little bit. So, I mean, when did you get started with Autism Rocks and Rolls? And I mean, how are you liking the podcasting space so far?
Well, first of all, it's a great experience. I will definitely say that. And it started to join my high school's media club.
Okay.
So the way I found that was through a Riley dance marathon. So Riley, just a little short brief on that.
Yeah.
Riley is like a place where people with chronic illnesses, sometimes they don't make it. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
But sometimes they just go there for a certain treatment. I know Riley has an autism center.
Okay.
But they have these things called dance marathons, and that's where you stay up and you dance for 24 hours.
That sounds fun.
You get in sumo suits. You can be a kid again almost.
Yeah.
It's kind of gives you that feeling.
Yeah.
But I noticed that my a school board member named Scott Carmichael and others were carrying out cameras. And I was looking at like, okay, what's this? And my peak of curiosity and interest in me. So, and this was at a time I didn't have confidence enough to go ask people questions.
Right.
So I asked Mom, can you please go do this? I'm busy right now. I want to hang out with my friend and I don't have the confidence for it. Please do it.
Yeah.
So I kind of had my mom do the dirty work
per
se, but I would say that she did. And they told me to join next year because of projects. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know what to expect, but I was very interested. So that's when I found the podcasting world. And ever since then, through the sophomore, that's when I joined. But after entering the sophomore year, I joined the club. And ever since then, that's where I found the podcasting. And when I did join, it just clicked and I enjoyed it. So I was doing Thundercast through that time. I wasn't doing Autism Rocks and Rolls. It didn't exist yet.
Okay.
But junior year, I realized, well, crap. I'm not going to be a senior forever. And I got to figure out a way to continue my skills.
Yeah.
So the only way I knew to continue my skills was to start my podcast, Autism Rocks and Rolls. And that was the initial title from a man who has autism, so I thought it made sense.
Yeah.
But I also thought, because I always want to do something good for the community at least.
Yeah.
Or good for someone. And I didn't have an opportunity to find a platform where I could. Yeah. I found the opportunity to.
Yeah. Isn't that great? I mean, it's a fairly easy medium to get into, but I gotta be honest, it's done wonders for my mental health as well. I've really just been blessed.
Through this journey, I didn't realize how big mental health was so important to us. I mean, there are tons of people right now who have anxiety and depression. I've talked to someone who shall remain nameless. She said herself, I have had depression before.
Yeah.
And I bet there's someone in that Podfest studio right now who has depression.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. And getting that off your chest, I mean, it's just done wonders for me, just being able to talk to other people as well and just hear about all these wonderful stories. And, not just with you, but I mean, with everybody that I've spoken to. So I'm really saying, Misfits, if you're out there listening to this, go start a podcast.
In a way, or find other Misfits for your group.
I think I've actually spoken with you a long while back on Reddit, I believe. And I don't think anything ever came to fruition because of it.
It may have too, but then again, it may have just flown through the head or...
Yeah.
Just got in the junk mail or something.
These things happen. But I'm so glad that I get to interview you here in person at Podfest. I mean, it's I love what you're doing. Like I said, you mentioned that your when you started podcasting, it really helped with your confidence. I mean, what was your confidence like before podcasting? And then, how exactly did that affect your confidence?
Well, as I've told you before this, I hit rock bottom. I mean, I hit rock bottom to the point where I thought no one would care about me. Yeah. I thought, well, if someone's going to talk to me, it's going to be a brief 5 minutes. It got to the point where if someone did try to talk to me, because I realized it now, but I didn't realize it then, that I'd run straight off. I mean, I use an excuse. I remember one kid was in the morning and I didn't want to talk to him. I think I don't know if I just got an argument with my mom or something that day, but I just didn't feel good that day mentally.
Yeah.
And he was trying to talk, try to talk to me. And because I was so frightened, I used the old excuse. I got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Just because he wanted to talk to you.
Just because he wanted to talk to me. I thought, well, crap. And It wasn't because I was didn't want to. I was just scared to. Yeah. Because I was afraid, another smart remark's going to come off because of the bullying I've had to deal with. So I just made the excuse, hey, man, I got to go to the bathroom, because I was too afraid that he would do something mean. And I should have known better, because with me and him, we weren't friends, but he wasn't mean to me either. Yeah. It was just an average relationship you have with another human being.
But just that fear and anxiety of just another person.
Just that phrase, I'm gonna say the wrong thing to the wrong person. Yeah. He's gonna make a smart remark. I'm gonna get mad. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Just too many scenarios could go wrong.
So have you experienced a lot of bullying as well? I mean, is that something that has affected you?
Oh yeah. Bullying. Yeah. It's led me to a point where I can be very defensive, and to a point where I've learned not to care what others think of me. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't even care what my own family thinks of me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping that they think I'm great. I hope they do, granted.
Yeah.
I think they do. But it's led me to a path of trust issues too. And with the defensive, I guess I would say sometimes people are like, well, you should just go. You should go away because you're making me mad. And I'm like, no, you go away. There's a door right there.
Right.
As I said, I know it's defensive and harsh, but because of the past, it just triggers that defensive mode when someone's being a smart aleck to me, because I'm just afraid that I'll go get too mad and I'll be the mean guy, and I don't want to be.
Yeah. Well, I've met your mom here at the podcast, and she clearly loves you. You guys have a great relationship, man. And that's support that she's here with you. I mean, how important is that to you?
It's very, very important to me, I would say, because of just the fact that someone actually cares is meaningful. And I know that my family has cared about me, but to understand it, that's what I really am most admiring about that. Is she is a teacher herself, and she's dealt with a lot of inclusion kids.
Yeah.
But for her to understand what I've been going through, to understand the tears of freshman year because I was getting excluded, just dealing with all these stereotyping, just a freaking shoulder to cry on. Yeah. Hallelujah, man.
Yeah. Let's talk about that understanding and inclusion a little bit further. Because, I mean, is it difficult for you to get that to other people? Do you not find a lot of understanding like that? Do you often have to explain yourself a lot?
Sometimes, yes, I would say so. But I think that autism is becoming a little more known, and there's a lot of help for it, that there's becoming more of an understanding for it. I mean, I don't think they'll understand the behaviors of it. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
But they're understanding, actually, I got a better way. And a little more. They're understanding the behaviors, but I don't think sometimes they understand the reason.
Yeah.
Because, with the wet t-shirt, I don't want to put the t-shirt, I don't want to take the shirt off, but I cannot tolerate it.
Right. One of the things that I heard you mention in one of your episodes was dealing with fixations and things like that. Can you explain that a little bit? Because when I'm saying, I gotta be honest, I'm not 100% understanding of the concept of it. When you say fixation, I believe in one of your episodes you mentioned you have a fixation with professional wrestling. Do you not want to talk about it?
Let's go. So let's get this way. So the concept of fixation is this. So we're right now in an empty room, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's put more people in here. Let's get a stage and talk about pro wrestling for 5 hours.
Yeah.
That would be me straight up.
Yeah.
That's what it is we can't move on from a topic.
Okay.
So, for example, right now, if I talked about wrestling, the old me would not shut up about it.
Yeah.
And I know now as a 20-year-old, we have to switch topics.
Yeah.
And we have to switch to people. I think that's why these events work, because I know I can't focus on one people, because I know I can't talk to you forever and ever and ever for this whole entire event.
Right.
One, that's strange and weird. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Sure.
but also fortunately, I can see why.
Yeah.
But that's the reason. That's what the fixation is it's just not wanting to keep talking about the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And the problem is neither side is, as I heard said in the episode, neither side's willing to bend a little. Society thinks there's nothing to this. They need to move on. Shut up, period.
Yeah.
Well, as you're saying, why do we need to? There's nothing wrong with it. We're practicing for our future skills, buddy. We're not shutting up.
Right. Yeah.
It needs to be we need to find a middle where society can win a little bit and the Asperger side can win a little bit.
Sure. So when we're talking about the different, I hate these variations. I don't know if that's the right word to say, but we mentioned a little earlier that the spectrum is a wide spectrum. I mean, what exactly are some of the issues encompassing in that?
Right. So there's a low function, which means they have the mind of a 3-year-old, basically.
Okay.
The middle end, which means they're my age, but maybe you have mind of an 8-year-old. And then there's the high function, which is me, which I say I'm just a year behind.
Yeah.
So in reality, I'm 20.
Yeah.
No, wait, I'm sorry. I'm 19, but I think I have the mind of an 18.
Okay.
So I'm just a year or 2 years behind.
Okay.
But Autism Rock and Roll's mission is to show that the low functioning has talents too. I know someone who has very low functioning, and man, I'll tell you, he can work with hay.
Yeah.
He's actually being able to push hay bales.
I'm trying to think of a way not to say this offensively. Okay. So just my heart.
You ain't going to offend me. I'm a very open book. So
okay.
Don't worry.
So when you Google autism, you're going to pull up autism spectrum disorder, right? I don't necessarily see the disorder part of it. I feel like it's honestly kind of a beautiful thing. Yes, I understand that it's a social cue for the fixation and things like that, but there's also, it's like a hyper specialization. So that part of it, to me, do you have any insight into that?
I can comment on that. So what I like to say is there are two definitions: society's view, my view. Society's view is it's a neurological condition where they don't pick up on social cues. They may lack brushing their teeth, lack certain basic skills because some doesn't make sense to them.
Right.
My view and my definition is just a different way of thinking.
Yeah, I mean that totally makes sense. That's kind of how I see it as well. You know, I don't think there's a negative there, really.
No, because we all think differently. You, my friend, I don't know what. Let me ask you, what type of learner would you say you are? Just out of curiosity.
I learn by doing normally.
Doing, so hands-on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a visual learner.
Okay.
I'm very visual, pictures guy. I mean, I don't think in pictures. I think in words.
Yeah.
But learning style, if I see it, it will make more sense.
Yeah.
But the way we learn is differently, and just because we learn differently doesn't mean we should be excluded.
Yeah.
Because just because you think you have to do hands-on,
right,
and it doesn't work for me, doesn't mean there's value to it.
Yeah, it's different strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah, exactly. Different strokes for different folks. I like that.
Yeah.
And for me, just because I see a picture of Dr. Temple Grandin and watching a cow getting milked, that doesn't mean that I'm learning any other way. I'm just learning my own way.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful your insight into it. You know, like I said, you've got a brilliant perspective on it, and it's very, like I said, it's very positive, but still real. I want to talk about your nonprofit. I heard about your nonprofit on your podcast, so why don't you tell me about your nonprofit and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish with it?
Yeah, sure. So with this nonprofit, we have a board of 5. We have they're very lovely people. I don't know what I'd do without them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But because of this, we're able to host events such as we hosted a gala. I think we briefly mentioned that before the show. It was about a title called Success for All and how we get there. And you'll hear more about this in the Pechacucha, Chris, if you're there to hear it. But it's changed. The dynamics of the podcast have changed because initially it was a podcast about autism, my view, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Now it's changed into the mission of Autism Rocks and Rolls, which is success and how we get there. So my mission now, my podcast now, talks about success and what it means to be a successful person with autism or with any other condition. Because just because you have spina bifida, which my friend does, and he's probably not going to be able to walk, does not mean he will not be successful. He will not be doing something in the film industry, which I know he wants to do in his whole life. So
yeah,
he'll like everyone will be able to do something.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, so what exactly is the function of your nonprofit? What are you all doing? You said you have the gala. What is it to spread awareness, or
it's to spread acceptance of autism? Because I think we're aware of it. Some are because there's help and I see improvement on that.
Yeah,
but they're still not accepting of it. I still see people getting excluded at the lunch table.
Really?
I was in that position.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what's going on. But that's what we're trying to get rid of. But we're trying to do other events. I mean, I've mentioned we work with Cast for Kids. That means with all people of all abilities went fishing.
Yeah.
And there was a little like award ceremony, but it was still like to show them, hey, we can fish too.
Yeah.
And then I've spoken in Oklahoma and Canada about these autism conferences, but while they're great, I get great experience of it. I just question why I had to do it. Not because I don't want to, but I just question if I should have to do it, if that makes any sense. Because it shouldn't be me having to speak to say that we should be accepting of it.
Yeah.
I like doing it, granted.
Yeah.
I would never change it. But I just wonder, should I have to speak? Why can't we all just be nice and we are together?
I 100% agree with you on that. I do think just coming from an alternative viewpoint of that, I definitely think that while it's something that is becoming more mainstream, I don't think it's not widely accepted, but widely understood. And that's one of the things that I love about your podcast. Like I said, is that you by coming from the viewpoint of somebody that's dealing with autism and the issues that you face, it's really impactful to hear that voice in particular.
Right. And let me ask you, would you rather hear, and I'm not trying to bash doctors. Doctors are great. We had to have some help with those when we started, but would you rather hear facts from a doctor saying 1 in 45 people live with autism?
Yeah.
Or would you rather hear a reason why I'm so blunt?
Yeah.
Because I can't help it.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just a very impactful statement that you make, and I think what you're doing is fantastic. So you had the gala with the nonprofit. What are some other things coming up for the? Are you doing more events or?
Yeah, we can go on that a little bit. So we have speaking events that we have some potentially in August. In September, I know that I'm going to have an indie virtually. I think there maybe have some I'm doing in August, and maybe a speaker for that. So that's pretty cool and exciting. I also will probably do another gala in April. I think it's going to be an annually tradition.
Okay.
Just got to pick the right time because I think when we did it was Easter weekend. That was not the smartest time to do it.
Yeah, that one's a little busy.
So that's different. But we may do other events. I'm trying to convince the nonprofit still. I think we're going to, it sounds promising, but it's so far. We haven't thought of it completely yet.
Yeah.
I want to do a disability fair to show so I'm at a booth and I want to show this talent that society doesn't appreciate. For example, my society doesn't appreciate me, can memorize each main event from WrestleMania. Come on.
Right.
That's not appreciated. So I want to show that talent and show other talents that aren't appreciated.
Yeah. So this is kind of shooting from the hip, and I don't know, if this is something you're comfortable talking about, but do you have any type of faith in your life? Do you have any type of religious or faith?
No, my religion is myself. To be honest with you, I mean, it's had so trust issues that I feel like sometimes religion can be kind of pushy.
Yeah,
I guess in a way it makes sense. They want you to believe this. They want you to believe this.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I want to believe my own beliefs. I want my own philosophical life. I don't want to rely on a possible made up person. Could they be real? Yeah. But in my opinion, I rather rely on myself than someone to save me. I mean, could they save me? Yeah. But do I think they will? No.
You're entitled to your own thing. I mean, that's not an issue at all.
Yeah, as long as we can do it civilly. I mean, that's what bothers me too these days is nobody can be very blunt. It still bothers that people sometimes can't talk about things civilly.
Yeah.
Or sometimes we'll take the wrong thing the wrong way. Because when I'm blunt, it's just me saying what I believe.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes, let's just even focus it on religion in particular. I mean, I think people get uncomfortable and things like that with having and really not even just religion, but any type of conversations. Every now and then there's something that's like people are just like, hey, that's off limits. Is there anything with you that is off limits? Have you ever
No, not at all. I mean, my weakness is the R word. I'll be honest with you. As long as you don't say that, we're good. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
You can't really make me mad easily.
Yeah.
I guess you can't obviously like doing something extremely rude, but I mean like do it when it comes to that certain situations or that circumstances. No.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, I think I think what you bring to the table is just very, very needed. And I think you're a voice for a community that is very underserved. And I love what you're doing, man. So I really appreciate you coming on here. The podcast Autism Rocks and Rolls, where can everybody find you? And do you have any social media or website or any of that stuff?
Yeah. So you can find me on your favorite media platform like Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, all the goodies, I guess you can call it out there. Right. But my website's autismrocksandrolls.com. That's where my home base is.
Yeah.
And that will have certain episodes and where I'm found and all the information you need.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Misfits, go check them out. I mean, Sam, like I said, you're a great voice, and I think what you're doing is just so needed. We are sort of winding down towards the end of the show, and one thing that I ask every guest at the end of every episode is, it's one question in two parts, and that is, what was the last goal that you completed, and what's the next goal that you want to set for yourself?
Well, I guess you could say my last goal was getting to the accepting part.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. My last goal is getting to the awareness part.
Yeah.
Now the goal is getting to the accepting part.
Yeah. So what do you do you have a plan for that? I mean, you got the galas going on and everything like that.
I mean, we can do what we can do as a nonprofit, but just talk about autism every day of my life. I mean, just get on these other podcasts like yours and just say, hey, we should not be ignored.
Yeah.
For some reasonable and kind of idiotic reasons, may I add.
Yeah. So just have the conversation, right?
That's all you can do, brother.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I got to say, man, you are a very entertaining character. I have thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you, and I love your show. I love what you're doing. So I can't wait to hear what's next for you. I'm really excited for the future for you, man.
Will do, and thank you, man, for having me on. It's been fun.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap this guy up. Misfits, go check out Sam's podcast. You will not be disappointed. It is very informative and very eye-opening, and I love you, man. It's great. It was a lot of fun talking to you.
Yeah, man, I love you too.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, you have a good evening, all right?
All right, brother. You take care.
All right, thanks. Well, Misfits, we did it. That's our episode. I want to thank you so much for listening, and thanks again to our sponsors. If you want to support any of the sponsors of this podcast, there are affiliate links on the sponsors tab of our website over at www.misfit-heroes.com. You can also find links to all of our social media there, so be sure to follow us for immediate update information about the podcast. Listen, if you want to support this podcast, you liked it at all, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button down below so you're notified of new podcasts as they're released, and be sure to leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Truly, Misfits, I love you. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, be kind, love one another, and be a hero.